Welcome to the Northeast Kingdom Voice. I'm your host, Scott Wheeler. Today's guests are two members of the Northeast Kingdom book publishing world, Susan Davis and Tracie Ashman. Welcome to the show.
Thanks, Scott.
Thanks.
So do you actually have your own titles you would like to use?
I like to use editor.
And I usually go with author.
And are you Susan, Susie Q, or what?
It's Susan Agatha.
Right.
I use Susan Agatha Davis because when I go on Amazon to sell, there are so many Susan Davises, you'd never find my books unless you use the middle name.
Right. First of all, I got to put a plug in for the unsung heroes of every book, every publication, every newspaper, the editors. The editors, like, as you know, I've written newspapers, I do books, I do the Northland Journal. And when something goes right and it comes out great, it's the writers who get all the glory. When something goes wrong, it isn't the writer's fault. Everybody says, look at their editors.
Thank you, Scott.
And it happens. My editor is Janine Young from West Glover. I worked with her at the Chronicle, and I've worked with her for a few years. And she makes me sound so smart. And Susan, you've edited some of my work, and you know that isn't always easy. Yeah. But no, editors make, I won't say they make the writer, but they sure to heck help, because we're focused on the article, we're focused on the story, but sometimes those little editing things get in the way.
Well, I have a process. So what happens is I'll write a chapter or two first as I'm going along. Then I will edit it myself. You know, I used to be a newspaper editor. And then I will put it through Grammarly. And then I will put earphones on and listen to it, which corrects a lot of problems. Then I send it to my beta reader down in Florida. He reads it and tells me if it sounds okay. Then I look at it again. Then I send it to Tracie. And then Tracie tells me all the things I did wrong.
Or if the characters don't sound like themselves.
Or better yet, my timelines. She's really big with, why do you have this coming on Wednesday? I thought he died on Tuesday. You know, just like that.
Yeah, and it's those little things that people don't really understand about writing a book. Like one thing that I do, like I wrote it's just little things, but they're rather big, is I was just writing an article and it involved the arrival of COVID-19. And it slipped right through me, no matter how many times I edited it myself. COVID arrived in early 1920. No, where did I?
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah.
How did that? Yeah, but I don't even know how I did that. But because when I was reading it, I knew what I meant to say. So my eyes glossed right over it because I knew it wasn't 1920.
Well, that's the problem with doing.
Well, unless you were
editing.
talking about the first pandemic, you know.
Yeah.
Whenever
but that was the COVID-19. I was legitimately wrong.
But if Scott, if you had used the earphones and been put audio on your text when you're going through it, you would have caught that.
Right.
That's where the earphones come in.
Right. Here's a question for you, Tracie, before we get to talk about your business. Well, what you're here for is talking about the Barton Fair and being there. Since you're an editor, well, actually, this is true for Sue too, since she was an editor. My daughter, Emily, says there's not been a single, she's a prolific reader, and she has yet to find a book without some blooper in it.
Yeah.
Do you think that's true?
It is because I can tell Sue, this is what I think. I mean, I don't do like hard editing. I will give it, I don't know if you on Word, there's like, a section where you can actually track the edits. And if she doesn't approve it, that's on her, not on me. So it is essentially her book. So if your daughter finds a book that, has mistakes in it, it's not necessarily the editor's fault. It's because the author decided that's not what they wanted to change.
Yeah, sometimes you will get a spelling error or a typing error, but you might get two or three in a book. It's really, I think, impossible
To get it perfect.
to get anything perfect, especially my books take 18 months to 2 years to write. So there's going to be mistakes in there.
And I still don't understand some things about the English language. It's like I really don't know the difference between gray, Grae, no Y, and gray, Grey.
Yeah, the difference between the color gray, I get this all the time. If you spell it with an E, it's
It's
because
English.
it's in England. So, and if it's spelled
Yeah.
with an A, it's American. So
Uh,
that's a good way to
and
try to
so I'm
compare.
still
But we see both
so
spellings of a lot of things, and trust me, sometimes even I get fooled, and I'm like, I got to double take and say, okay, I got to go look in the dictionary to make sure I'm doing this right, because you're right, there are a lot of common words that are spelled differently, and we just pick up on both of them and don't know why one is the other and what's not.
Yeah,
and the other thing
I get
is
stuck on homonyms. The one that threw me for a long time was discrete and discrete. One has uh, yeah, ETE, and the other one has a EET
Yeah.
or something like that. At any rate, they have two completely different meanings. So it
and,
was, I kept going,
and then
what is wrong with
then
this?
you come on to regional dialects is because if regional, like every once in a while I will be using a word
Hmm.
and Janine will say, Scott, technically that's not really a word, is because you just in here's what she does is because a good editor does not rob you of your voice. They
Right.
help you, but they want you to maintain your voice. And I write Northeast Kingdom history, so we keep in some of those little oddities. So
I have
okay.
I have a comeback for you if you want. I keep telling
Yeah.
people when they say that's not really a word, it's the business of writers to coin words. That's our job. Nobody makes up words. Writers make up words.
Oh, that's
And then
true.
it's a
Okay.
word if you made it up and it works.
So the two of you wanted to come on talk about your work and an upcoming appearing. Well, you're going to be appearing at the Barton Fair,
Yeah.
also, and more accurately known, the Orleans County Fair.
Yes.
Go
Yeah,
ahead.
we're going to be appearing at the Floral Hall. We have a booth. The fair actually starts on September 6th and goes to the 10th. But we will only be there from Friday, September 8th to September 10th on that Sunday. Um, we will have our books. We will have cards. If you guys are interested, if you want an editor, you need an editor, you have questions to ask, you can contact us. I've provided information for Todd to include even in the description of this video if you're happening to be watching it online or on TV. And I'm sure if you can call us, you can call me actually at 802-334-1707, or you can look me up online at nekediting.com. So yeah, we will definitely be there. Like I said, we will have copies of our books, and if you want to stop by to our booth, that'd be great. We'll be happy to talk to you.
And where are you going to be? The infamous or famous Floral Hall?
Yes, yes, we'll be at Floral Hall.
I still can't go into Floral Hall without hearing the voice of Phil LaFontaine, who was the announcer. Well, actually, I can't go to the Barton Fair without remembering the decades or years of hearing his drawl. That he was the voice of the Barton Fair. So you're going to have some of your books there. Well, you both are.
Yes,
Yes.
yeah. I have copies of ones I have here. Most of them are children's books. I do have activity books, and I have a children's ABC book if anybody's interested. Sue will have her poetry book and her mystery novels available for purchase.
How many books have you written, Sue?
Pardon?
How many books have
How
you?
many books have you
Oh,
written?
I'm working on number 7, not counting the poetry book. I have 6 crime novels and 1 book of poetry. The crime novels are definitely adult reading. I'm just going to put it there and leave it there. It's not, they have what they call in crime or mystery writing cozies. Cozies would be Agatha Christie or Murder, She Wrote, something like that. What I write is somewhere between a Bruce Willis movie and maybe John Wick. They're pretty wild. So I have those. I have 6 published, and the 7th one I'm plowing my way through.
Right. I can't recall when you worked for the Daily Express whether you ever did the police or court beat. But then you're a lawyer too. But did you do the police beat at all?
I,
Or
I did it when I first worked there. I worked there at 2 different time periods for 6 years each
right,
time. So when I first came, when Terry Albee was the editor, then I was
right.
covering the court beat. But then when I went back as an editor.
Yeah,
So
she was my boss, so.
oh, that's right.
She didn't
And
believe I was her boss. She's like, you don't know.
so
She
you
gets all
bring
year round.
We're partners now.
Yes.
so Sue, you bring to your writing your mystery and crime writing. You're also a educated attorney. Am I correct?
Yeah, I've practiced criminal law for 30 years,
Right.
and I'm currently working on my master's degree at UVM in English with an emphasis on eco-criticism. And if you want to know what that means, it's the application of ecological thought to literature.
Whew. And then you have your newspaper, working newspaper, which is in most cases investigative, whether it's crime or not. But do you think those things really help you in your work?
Oh yeah, I think they do. I think any experience you have helps you in your work. When new writers talk to me about what should I write about or what should I study in school, I'll tell them if you're going to be a mystery writer, study criminology. Don't study writing. Know your subject matter. If you want to write about science fiction, study science. It's
Right,
you can always learn how to write. You can't always know your topic.
right. Yeah. Well, and the thing is, a lot of people don't realize that a lot of times you might say you're a fiction writer, but in many cases you've got to get your facts right at
Oh
the
yeah.
same time. Is because you got to have things. It's like, for example, if you're I've written 2 history books on prohibition in Vermont, and even you've got to if you're going to write about prohibition in a fiction, you have got to understand that prohibition looked vastly different, say between 1920 and 28 than say 28 and 33. And so just because you're a fiction writer doesn't mean you have total liberties, because you can really screw up some things.
There are sometimes I can write 2 or 3 chapters and all I have to do is look up a date. And other times I'll spend a week researching something for a paragraph. So
Right.
it depends what you're looking for. You were talking about Howard Mosher, so I should mention that among my future projects, I'm working on a collection of cozies, a collection of short stories set in the Northeast Kingdom based on a newspaper reporter who solves mysteries. And those stories are loosely based on Chris Roy. So I gave him one of the stories when they finished, and he got a kick out of it, so he's on board. They're
Um,
called
uh,
the Adventures of Scoop LaRue.
Yep. And I read it too. And the first comment I made to Sue was like, "You do realize this is not so accurate." She's like, "Well, people can use their imaginations." I'm like, "Okay."
I mean,
Well, you
it's not Chris exactly, but it's loosely based on him as a young reporter in the Northeast Kingdom, going out and picking up on these stories and solving little mysteries.
you got to have a grumbling you got to have a grumbling editor in there, spitting and sputtering, listening to his music, but has a heart of gold, but he just doesn't want to show it sometimes. Now, who was that? Terry Elby. I used to
Terry.
love
Terry was
Terry.
great.
I used to love listen to him grumble, and I mean that with terms of endearment. But
Yeah.
um, yeah,
Oh, you just had to understand him, but he was great. I thought he was great.
yeah, yeah. So and his pile of debris all over his desk, and he seems to have been able just to pull out whatever he was looking for.
Yeah. Well, they
So
say the smarter you are, the more stuff you have on your desk. That's what they say.
I'd be a bloody genius, and I'm not.
Yeah. Well,
So
if other authors have the same issue, they can always go to like a writers conference like I just went to this weekend at Jerry Johnson's house. It was great. I mean, I not only met other authors and people who like to read, but I also met agents there, and I learned a lot. So, like I said, if somebody comes to me and asks a question that I have no answer to, I'll tell them I don't know, and maybe know somebody who could answer their question.
when is the Barton Fair this year? Because it used to be in August. Well, it actually used to be in September, and then for decades it was in August, and now it's back to September. But what are the dates?
Yeah, it starts on September 6th and goes to the 10th. But Sue and I will be there Friday, Saturday, and Sunday um, from the 8th and the 10th in Floral Hall.
Yeah, and what are you going to be doing besides selling books?
Hopefully, getting people interested and getting the word out about NEK editing. I mean, I'm right here in Newport. I've actually have quite a few clients that are within Vermont. I've got one client in Charleston who just sent me her manuscript. I'll be going over that this week. Sue sends me her books all the time. And like I said, I can't wait to see what book seven's all about. And I know her readers keep asking, when's it coming? When's it coming? And I have another author that just finished a book on an artist down in Burlington. And she's also working on another book with murals throughout the entire city of Burlington that I should hopefully be receiving soon. So, I mean, I work on obviously anything between nonfiction and fiction, and if it's a genre that I'm interested in and I think that it's something worth pursuing, I will be happy to help anybody. I know a lot of authors are looking for illustrators. I'm actually trying to gain more contact with people who have illustrating abilities, so I get them in touch with the author, and they make the deal if there's something that they can do to work together. I let the author decide that. I just hope that to spread the word and let people know that I'm here, and authors are around and editors are around here too.
I want to
And go
add that Tracy doesn't just do editing. She also does all the formatting,
Yes, I
which
format
means,
books.
right. So when you go to send a book to Amazon or Lulu or wherever you're sending it to be published, she's the one that does all the layouts, make sure it fits all the requirements, all that kind of thing. And she's the one who talks to the people who make the book covers so that everything fits.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm trying to learn to do book covers. I can do simple ones. Like I helped with her poetry book. I've done all of mine by myself. Like if you want to check out all the books that I've done, you can go to my website. Like I said, at nekediting.com. Yeah, I do. I format them. If you have a book cover that you don't know how to submit, I can help you. Or Sue knows a website that she gets a lot of her book covers from that she purchases, and then I can format them and get them ready to send them to KDP if you're willing to self-publish. If you'd rather send it to a publishing company, that's fine. I can still do the layout for you so it's ready for you to submit. I also learned the difference at that conference between a writer and an author. I basically thought they were synonymous. Apparently they're not. If you're A writer basically is reserved for people who are in newspaper magazines, and an
Right.
author is considered somebody who actually has a book. You may be both, but do you want to use the right terminology? And like I said, I'm still learning. I just met, like I said, I met an agent, actually a couple of them. One was for nonfiction, the other one was for fiction. So I mean, I'm slowly gaining connections, and I, no man is an island. You need people to help you so you can help them.
That's sort of a segue into what I was going to say. Tracy is actually part of a team. I think it's important to understand that. I have my beta reader. His name is Joe Fletcher. He lives down in Florida. And the reason I use him is because a number of my characters are Marines, and he's a retired Navy submariner. So he catches me on a lot of things. Then I have a team of people who used to live in the Northeast Kingdom, who now live in Greece, a husband and wife, who put together my covers. I'll find the cover art I want, and they will design it, do the lettering, do the layout, all that. Tracy just sends them what they need to know. Then I have a lady named Emma Sheridan who lives in Buenos Aires, Argentina, and she's in the process of translating my books into Spanish. And we finished the first one, but I've been dragging my heels on. I know. Tracy's like, when are you going to get that done? I've been dragging my heels on going over it and reviewing it and making sure we can put it together. But that should be coming out. And then I have a friend of mine, Nate. Now I'm blanking on his name, Nate Fisher in Spokane, Washington, who is making my first audiobook. So we're a ship full of,
Right.
we're a
Oh
team.
yeah. Oh, I totally understand that. Like, whereas Janine is my editor, uh, and she worked at the Chronicle for years. And Natalie Homiller Gordon was an editor for a few years at the Chronicle. We're all former Chronicle workers, and they are the ones who actually make me look a lot smarter than I am. Now, I will say this: we're running out of time. I think we're about done, about 5 minutes. Tracie, I don't know how your relationship works with Sue, but in my case, before we can move forward on with the journal, forget about my books. I need to get my butt in gear to keep the things going. And every once in a while, Janine will have to just send me, because she's the sweetest woman, just like, so how are things going, Scott? I know what that really means. It means go
Oh
now.
yes, I send Sue messages. I'm like, okay, I'll wait maybe a couple of weeks. I'm like, okay, Sue, here's,
Where's this? Where's
where's the
that?
right? I said, where's this? Have they received it? And she's like, well, I tried. I didn't have a response. So I'll try again. And I'm like, okay, yes, I do try to keep her on track. It
Yeah.
may take a while. Maybe I might have forgotten and say, oh, did you send it to me? And she says, well, I sent an email. Maybe I misplaced it. But yes, we keep each other in check.
We're
Yeah.
completely different. Our minds were completely different.
Oh
Um,
yeah, yeah.
Very organized, very business oriented, very focused. I'm, out in, fiction
Oh
land.
yeah.
But part of her
Yeah.
problem is
Just
she's doing like 10 different things at once. So,
yeah.
she may drop a ball every once in a while, and I'm there to pick it up and say, okay, you got to focus on this, and then, maybe not do so much on this other thing.
Yeah.
No, that's it. I get going in every which direction, and I every once in a while. But and the problem is, at now I'm kind of floating ever since Penny died, because Penny was the one who just said, Scott, focus,
Right.
don't. And
But
and so
in
every so
your
at the
case,
moment I'm just like,
right. With your journal, you have deadlines. I mean, I know your journal comes out once a month. With Sue and
yep,
I self-publishing, our deadlines are a little bit more relaxed. Now, it's probably different if you decided to traditionally publish. I mean, I don't know. I follow this guy that's on YouTube, and his book just came out August 1st. Now, he's been working on this book for, say, a year, but, the publishing company would say, yeah, you got to send this back, review it, what our edits, and send it back within this amount of time to make sure we meet our deadline so your book comes out. And now he's out there promoting it. to me, I understand the differences between self-publishing. You know, you have to do a little bit more. You have to do your own advertising. Where if you go to a traditional publisher, they do all that for you, but you are on a tighter schedule.
And you
right?
get a lot less
And
money
with
back
and
from it.
I publish books, my books, through my company, but I one time I published two books back to back, and I will never do that again. I
Now we
and
understand
but
why you don't have so many hair.
yeah, that's it.
Cut that
I
part
like
out.
I personally prefer to attribute that to just the angle of the camera lens. But okay, we only have a couple more minutes left. What more would you like to say? You probably want to just bring up the fact that, again, where are you going to be in September?
Yeah, we're definitely going to be at the fair in September. The only thing I want to mention that we didn't talk about was the hardest part of self-publishing, which is marketing. And I'm not going to go
Oh,
into it. I'm just going to say if you're going to decide out there to write books and sell them, you have to know marketing.
yeah. Oh, you do, because I see a lot. I'm I I'm fortunate because I have my magazine too, which helps me publish,
Right.
sell my books. But you've got to really know, you got to know your market, you got to know the tools to sell, and you've got to be, yeah, it's not easy.
It's not easy.
Yeah, are you an expert, Tracie, on that?
Marketing? No, I'm slowly learning. Like I said, the conference gave me a lot of good ideas. I have other, other than just social media. I mean, you do have to get out there and go to the libraries, do meet and greets. It's all part of it. And if you're saying, well, I want to do my book, but I'm a shy person, you really got to get over that part to sell your book. Otherwise,
I
people aren't going to know.
My first book, The Publisher, which they're out of, I think they're out of business now, New England Press. I remember the editor then saying to me, "Oh, now you've got to go do public speaking. You've got to go on the radio." And I said, "I've got to what?" Because I had never done it before. This might be hard to believe, but even when I have spoken now in front of hundreds of people as an at one at a time. But when I first started, I just about wanted to puke on my feet, because it gets so. And honestly, when I still stand in front of a group, I might look like I'm having a lot of fun because I think I'm pretty good at it. But the first 2 minutes is spent trying not to vomit on my feet. Just it doesn't come natural. So you got to do it though.
That's never been my problem. You know me, Scott. I've never had a problem speaking to anybody about anything.
Yeah. So yeah, this being a writer has actually been the best or worst thing for me, depending on who you ask. Because beforehand, I was kind of an introvert, and but after getting in with the Chronicle, having to talk to people, now I just don't shut up.
Yeah, yeah, it happens.
And I love people. So okay, so all right, 2 minutes.
Anything else you want to add, Tracy?
Well, like I said, you can contact me at nekediting.com. If you're local, you can call me at 802-334-1707. And I'll be happy, like I said, I'll be happy to talk with you if you happen to be at the Orleans County Fair in September.
Right. Sue, any words? You said you don't
That
ever. You
wraps it
said
up.
you said you love to talk.
Oh yeah, well, if I start now, we'll be another half hour.
Okay. Well, thank you for coming in. It was good to chat with some colleagues in the Northeast Kingdom who have the same passion that I do, um, writing.
Yeah, writing groups are great. I belong to a number of them, so yes.
And now go bring Tracie out for lunch and thank her for making you look good.
I'm
All
sure you
right.
will. Thanks for having us, Scott.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you to the viewers for tuning in to another segment of the Northeast Kingdom Voice.